When Sakra had gone to his proper place, Vibhatsu, together with his brothers and Krishna, paid homage unto the son of the Dharma. Then, smelling the crown of the head of that Pandava, who was thus paying homage, in a sense faltering on account of joy, addressed Arjuna, saying, "How didst thou pass this period in heaven? And how hast thou obtained the weapons? And how hast thou gratified the Lord of the Celestials? And hast thou adequately secured the weapons? Have the Lord of the Celestials and Rudra gladly granted thee the weapons? And how hast thou beheld the divine Sakra and the yudha of Pinaka? And how hast thou obtained the weapons? And in what manner didst thou worship? In what service hast thou done unto that oppressor of foes, the worshipful one of 100 sacrifices, that he saith unto thee, but thee have been gratified? All these I wish to hear in detail. The manner in which thou didst please Mahadeva and the King of the Celestials, and the service thou hast done to the wielder of the thunderbolt, do thou relate all this in detail. Listen how Ardul beheld him of 100 sacrifice, and the divine Sankara, having acquired that science which thou hast directed me, at thy command went to the forest, who practicing penances. From Kamyaka, repairing to Bihirigutunga, I spent there all night, being engaged in austerities, and it came to pass that, on the next day, I saw a certain Brahmana, and he asked me, saying, "Whither wilt thou go?" Thereupon, I truly related unto him everything, and having heard the true account, the Brahmana became well pleased with me, and praised me. Then the Brahmana, pleased with me, said, "He thou engaged in austerities, by performing penances, thou wilt in a short time behold the Lord of the Celestials." And according to his advice, I ascended the Himalaya, and began to practice penances, month subsisting on fruit and roots. I spent the second month subsisting on water, and in the third month I totally abstained from food, and in the fourth month I remained with upraised arms. And no wonder it is that I did not lose any strength. And it came to pass that when the first day of the fifth month had been spent, there appeared before me a being wearing the form of a boar, turning up the earth with his mouth, stamping the ground with his feet, rubbing the earth with his breast, and momentarily going about in a frightful manner. And him followed a great being in the guise of a hunter, furnished with the bow, arrows, and the sword, and surrounded by females. Thereupon, taking my bow and the two inexhaustible quivers, I fixed with shafts that terrible and frightful creature, and simultaneously that hunter, drawing a strong bow, more severely struck at, as if shaking my mind. And he said unto me, "Why hast thou, transgressing the rules of hunting, hit the animal first hit at by me? With these sharpened shafts will I destroy thy pride. Stay." Then that might boarded on, holding the bow hushed at me, and with volleys of might shafts he covered me entirely, even as a cloud covereth a mountain with showers. Then on my part I covered him with a mighty discharge of arrows. Thereupon, with steed arrows, having their points aflame, and inspired with mantras, I fixed him even as heaveth a mountain with a thunderbolt. Then his person began to be multiplied 100-fold and 1,000-fold. At this I fixed all his bodies with shafts, and then again all those forms became on. There I struck at it. Next he now assumed a small body with a hug head, and now a hug body with a small head. And he then assumed his former person and approached me for fight. And when in the encounter I failed to overwhelm him with arrows, I fixed the mighty weapon of the wind god. I failed to discharge it at him, and this was a wonder. And when that weapon thus failed of effect, I was struck with amazement. However, exerting myself more vigorously, I again covered that being with a mighty multitude of shafts. Then taking Sitihuna and Varuna and Salava and Asvarsha weapons, I assailed him, profusely showering shafts. He instantly swallowed up even all these weapons of mine, and when all those had been swallowed up, I discharged the weapon presided over by Brahma. And when the blazing arrows ensuing from that weapon were heaped upon him all around, and being thus heaped over by that mighty weapon discharged by me, he increased. Then all the world became oppressed with the energy begotten of the weapon hurled by me, and the firmament and all the points of the sky became illuminated. That one of might energy instantly baffled even that weapon. And when that weapon, presided over by Brahma, had been baffled, I was possessed with terrible fear. Thereupon, immediately holding even my bow and the two inexhaustible skewers, I shot at that being. He swallowed up all those weapons, and when all the weapons had been baffled and swallowed up, there ensued a wrestling between him and myself, and we encountered each other first with blows and then with slaps. Incapable of overcoming that being, I fell down stupefied on the ground. Thereupon, with a log, that wonderful being at my side vanished at that spot together with the woman. Having accomplished this, that divine one assumed another and an earthly form, wonderful high meant, in announcing the form of a hunter, that divine lord of the gods assumed his own unearthly appearance, and that mighty god stood. Then appeared before me with Uma, that manifest divine one, having the bull for his mark, yielding the pinaka, bearing serpents, and capable of assuming many forms, and advancing towards me, standing even then in the field ready for conflict. That yielder of the trident addressed me, saying, I am well pleased with thee. Then that divine one held up my bows and the couple of quivers, furnished with inexhaustible shafts, and he turned them unto me, saying, Do thou ask someone? I am well pleased with thee. Tell me what I shall do for thee, and express the desire that dwelleth in thy heart. I will grant it, except immortality alone. Tell me as to the desire that is in thy heart. And there, with my mind intent on the acquisition of arms, I unbowed thou unto Siva, and said, If thou beest favorably disposed towards me, then I wish to have this won. I wish to learn all the weapons that are with thy good head. Then the god Triamvaka said unto me, I will give. My own weapon, Haudra, shall attend upon thee. Thereupon Mahadeva, pleased, granted to me the mighty weapon, Pasupata, and having granted the eternal weapon, he said unto me, This must never be hurled at mortals. If discharged at any person of small energy, it won't consume the universe. Shouldst thou be hard pressed, thou mayest discharge it. And when all thy weapons have been completely baffled, thou mayest hurl it. Then, when he having the bull for his mark had been thus gratified, there it stood manifest by my side that celestial weapon of resistless force, capable of baffling all weapons and destructive of foes. and the hero of hostile forces, and unrivaled and difficult to be borne even by the celestials, the demons, and the Hakishasas. Then at the command of that god I sat me down there, and in my very sight the god vanished from the spot. By the grace of that God of gods, the supreme soul, Triamvaka, I passed the night at that place, and having passed the night, when I had finished the morning rituals, I saw that foremost of the Brahmanas, whom I had seen before, and unto him I told all as it had happened, that I had met the divine Mahadeva. Thereupon, well pleased, he said unto me, Since thou hast beheld the great God, incapable of being beheld by any one else, soon wilt thou mix with Vaivasvata and the other Lokapalas, and the Lord of the Celestials, and Indra too will grant thee weapons. Having said this unto me, and having embraced me again and again, that Brahmana, assembling the sun, went away whither he listed. And it came to pass that, on the evening of that day, refreshing the whole world, there began to blow a cool breeze, and in my vicinity, on the base of the Himalaya mountain, fresh, fragrant, and fair flowers began to blow, and on all sides there were heard charming symphony and captivating hymns relating to Indra, and before the Lord of the Celestials, hosts of Apsaras and Gandharvas chanted various songs. And ascending celestial cars, there approached the Marutas and the followers of Mahendra and the dwellers of heaven, and afterwards Marutivan together with Sakhi, and all the celestials appeared on the scene in cars yoked with horses, elegantly adorned, and at this very moment he that goeth about on the shoulders of men manifested himself unto me in excellent grace, and I saw Yama seated on the Suf, and Varuna, and the Lord of the Celestials at their respective regions. And they, after having cheered me, said, Behold us, the Lokapalas, seated. For the performance of the task of the gods, thou hast obtained the sight of Sankara, though thou now receive weapons from us seated around. Thereupon, having bowed down unto those foremost of the celestials with regard, Adul accepted those mighty weapons, and then they recognized me as one of their own. Afterwards, the gods repaired to the quarter from whence they had come. And that Lord of the Celestials, the divine Maghavan too, having ascended his glorious chariot, said, Thou shalt have to repair unto the celestial region. Even before this thy arrival, I knew that thou wouldst come hither. Then have I manifested myself unto thee, as formerly thou hast performed thy ablution in the various tirthas, and now hast performed severe austerities. Thou wilt be able to repair unto the celestial regions. Thou wilt, however, again have to practice extreme penance, for thou shouldst at any rate journey to heaven. And at my command, Matati shall take thee to the celestial regions. Thou hast already been recognized by the celestials, and the celestial says of high soul, and thereupon saith unto Sakra, Be thou favorably unto me. With the view of learning arms, do I beseech thee that thou mayest be my preceptor. At this Indra saith, Having learned weapons, thou wouldst perform terrible deeds, and with this object thou desirest to obtain the weapons. However, obtain thou the arms as thou desirest. Then I said, I never would discharge the celestial weapons at mortals, except when my other arms should have been baffled. Do thou grant me the celestial weapons, I may hereafter obtain the region attainably by warriors. Indra said, It is to try thee that I have said such words unto thee. Having been begotten of me, this speech of thine well becometh thee. Do thou, preparing unto my abode, learn all the weapons of Vayu, of Agni, of the Vasus, of Varuna, of the Marutas, of the Siddhas, of Brahma, of the Gandharvas, of the Uragas, of the Hakishasas, of Vishnu, and of the Naihitas, and also all the weapons that are with me. Having said this unto me, Sakra vanished at the very spot. Then saw I the wonderful and sacred celestial car yoked with steeds arrive, conducted by Matali. And when the Lokapalas went away, Matali said unto me, The Lord of the Celestials is desirous of seeing thee, and do thou acquire competence and then perform thy task. Come and behold the regions, attainably by merit, and come unto heaven even in this frame. The thousand-eyed Lord of the Celestials wisheth to see thee. Thus addressed by Matali, taking leave of the mountain Himalaya, and having gone round it, ascended that excellent car. And then the exceedingly generous Matali, vested in equine lore, drove the steeds, gifted with the speed of thought or the wind. And when the chariot began to move, the charioteer, looking at my face as I was seated steadily, wondered and said these words, Today this appeareth unto me strange and unprecedented, that being seated in this celestial car, thou hast not been jerked ever so little. I have ever remarked that, at the first pull by the steeds, even the Lord of the Celestials himself getteth jerked. All the while that the car had moved, thou hast been sitting unshaken. This appeareth unto me as transcending even the power of Sakra. Having said this, Matali soared in the sky and showed me the abodes of the Celestials and their palaces. Then the chariot yoked with steeds coursed upwards, and the Celestials and the sages began to worship. And I saw the regions moving anywhere at will, and the splendor of the highly energetic Gandharvas, Apsaras, and the celestial sages. And Sakra Chariota, Matali, at once showed me Nandana and other gardens and groves belonging to the celestials. Next I beheld Indra abode, Amaravati, adorned with dews and trees yielding any sort of fruit that is desired. There the sun doth not shed heat, nor doth heat or cold or fatigue their effect, and the celestials feel neither sorrow nor poverty of spirit, nor weakness, nor lassitude. And the celestials and the others have neither anger nor covetousness, and in the abodes of the celestials the beings are ever contented, and there the trees ever bear verdant foliage, and fruits, and flowers, and the various lakes are embalmed with the fragrance of lotuses. And there the breeze is cool, and delicious, and fragrant, and pure, and inspiriting, and the ground is variegated with all kinds of gems, and adorned with blossoms, and there were seen innumerably beautiful beasts, and in the air innumerably angels of the sky. Then I saw the Vasus, and the Hudras, and the Sadhyas, with the Marutas, and the Adityas, and the two as wings, and worshipped them. And they conferred their benison on me, granting me strength, and prowess, and energy, and celebrity, and arms, and victory in battle. Then entering that harmonic seat, adored by the Gandharvas and the Celestials, with joined hands, I stood before the thousand-eyed Lord of the Celestials. Thereupon that best of bestowers gladly offered unto me half of his seat, and Vasava, with regard to shed my person, and with the view of acquiring arms and learning weapons, I began to dwell in heaven, together with the gods and the Gandharvas of generous souls. And Vana son, Hitrasena, became my friend, and he imparted unto me the entire Gandharva, and I happily lived in Sakra abode, well cared for, having all my desires gratified, learning weapons, listening to the notes of songs and the clear sounds of musical instruments, and beholding the foremost of Apsaras dance, and without neglecting to study the arts which I learned properly. My attention was especially fixed on the acquisition of arms, and that Lord of 1,000 eyes was pleased with that purpose of mine. Living thus in heaven, I passed this period. And when I had acquired proficiency in weapons, and gained his confidence, that on having for his vehicle the horse, patting me on the head with his hand, said these words: Now even the Celestials themselves cannot conquer thee. What shall I say of imperfect mortals visiting on earth? Thou hast become invulnerably in strength, irrepressibly and incomparably in fight. Then with the hair of his body standing on end, he again accosted me, saying, In fighting with weapons none is equal unto thee, and thou art even watchful, and dexterous, and truthful, and of subdued senses, and the protector of the Brahmanas, and adept in weapons, and warlike. And together with the 5 modes using, thou hast obtained 5 and 10 weapons, and therefore there existeth none who is thy peer, and thou hast perfectly learnt the discharge, and withdrawal, and discharge, and withdrawal, and the prayashita connected, and their revival, in case of their being baffled. Now the time hath arrived for thy paying the preceptor fee. Do thou promise to pay the fee, then I shall unfold unto thee what thou wilt have to perform. There I said unto the ruler of the Celestials, If it be in my power to do the work, do thou consider it as already accomplished by me. When I had said these words, Indra with a smile said unto me, Nothing is there in the 3 worlds that is not in thy power. My enemies, those Danavas, named Nivata Kavachas, dwell in the womb of the ocean, and they number 30 million, and are notorious, and are of equal forms, and strength, and splendor, though thou slay them there, and that will be thy preceptor fee. Saying this, he gave unto me the highly resplendent celestial car, conducted by Matali, furnished with hair, resembling the down of peacocks, and on my head he set this excellent diadem, and he gave me ornaments for my body, like unto his own. And he granted unto me the impenetrably mail, the best of its kind, and is to the touch, and fastened unto the Gandiva, this durably string. Then I set out, ascending that splendid chariot, riding on which, in days of yore, the Lord of the Celestials had vanquished Vali, that son of Virokhana, and, startled by the rattling of the car, all the Celestials approached, taking me to be the king of the Celestials, and seeing me, they asked, What art thou going to do? And I told them as it had fallen out, and said, I shall even do this invately, ye that are highly fortunate, know that I have set out desirous of slaying the Nivata Kavachas. Do ye bless me? Thereupon they began to eulogize me even as they, the god Purandara, and they said, riding on this car, Magiravan conquered in Baitali, Samvara, and Namukhi, and Vala, and Vritra, and Prahada, and Naraka, and mounted on this car. Also Maghavan had conquered in Baitali many thousands and millions and hundreds of millions of deities, and Kaunteya, thou also, riding on this car, by thy prowess, shalt conquer the Nivata Kavakas in conflict, even as did the self-possessed Maghavan in days of yore. And here is the best of shells. By these thou shalt defeat the Danavas, and by these it is that the high-souled Sakra conquered the wars, saying this, the gods offered this shell Devadatta, sprung in the deep, and I accepted it for the sake of victory, and at this moment the gods fell extolling me, and in order to be engaged in action, I proceeded to the dreadful abode of the Danavas, punished with the shell, the mail, and arrows, and taking my bow. Then, at places eulogized by the Mahashis, I beheld the ocean, that inexhaustibly lost of waters, and like unto flowing cliffs, were seen on it having billows, now meeting together, and now rolling away. And there are around barks by thousands filled with gems, and there were seen teeming gillas, and tortoises, and macaras, like unto hawks submerged in water, and on our sides round thousands of shells sunk in water appeared like stars in the night, covered by light clouds, and thousands upon thousands of gems were floating in heaps, and a violent wind was blowing about in wheels, and this was wonderful to behold. And having beheld that excellent loss of our waters with powerful tides, I saw at a short distance the seat of the demons, filled with the Danavas, and even there a fat sons entering underneath the earth. Matali, skilled in guiding the car, sitting fast on the chariot, drove it with force, and he dashed on, frightening that seat with the rattling of his chariot. And hearing that rattling of the chariot like unto the humbling of the clouds in the sky, the Danavas, thinking me to be the lord of the celestials, became agitated. And thereupon they all, frightened at heart, stood holding in their hands bows and arrows, and swords, and javelins, and axes, and maces, and clubs. Then, having made arrangements for the defense of the city, the Danavas, with minds alarmed, shut the gates, so that nothing could be discovered. Thereupon, taking my shell, Devadatta, of tremendous horrors, I again and again winded it with exceeding cheerfulness, and filling out the firmament, those sounds produced echoes. Their mighty beings were terrified, and they hid. And then out of them, adorned with ornaments, those offsprings of Diti, the Nivata Kavachas, made their appearance by thousands, donning diverse mail, and taking in their hands various weapons, and equipped with mighty iron javelins, and maces, and clubs, and hatchets, and sabres, and discs, and sartaginis, and bihosundis, and variegated and ornamented swords. Then, after deliberating much as to the course of the car, Matali began to guide the steeds on a level ground, and owing to the swiftness of those fleet coursers conducted by him, I could see nothing, and this was strange. Then the Danavas there began to sound thousands of musical instruments, dissonant and of odd shapes, and at those sounds fishes by hundreds and by thousands, like unto hills, having their senses bewildered by that noise, fled suddenly. And might force flew at me, the demons discharging sharpened shafts by hundreds and by thousands, and then there ensued a dreadful conflict between me and the demons, calculated to extinguish the Nivata Kavachas. And there came to the might battle the Varshis, and the Danavarshis, and the Brahmarshis, and the Siddhas, and desirous of victory, the Munis eulogized me with the same sweet speech that Indra with at the war, for the sake of Tara. Then vehemently rushed at me in battle, in abode the Nivata Kavakas, equipped with arms, and obstructing the course of the car, and shouting loudly those mighty chariots, hemming me in on all sides, covered me with showers of shafts. Then other demons of mighty prowess, with darts and hatchets in their hands, began to throw at me spears and axes, in that mighty discharge of darts, with numerous maces and clubs incessantly hurled fell upon my car. And other dreadful and grim-visaged smithers among the Nivata Kavakas, punished with bows and sharpened weapons, ran at me in fight, and in the conflict, shooting from the Gandiva sundry swift arrows, coursing strength, appeased each of them with 10, and they were driven back by those stone-whetted shafts of mine. Then on my steeds, being swiftly driven by Matali, they began to display various movements with the speed of the wind, and being skillful, guided by Matali, they began to trample upon the sons of Diti. And outog these steeds yoked unto that mighty chariot, numbered hundreds upon hundreds, yet being deftly conducted by Matali, they began to move as if they were on a field, and by their tread, and by the rattling of the chariot wheels, and by the volleys of my shafts, the Danavas began to fall by hundreds, and others, accoutred in bows, being deprived of life, and having their chariots slain, were carried about by the horses. Then, covering all sides and directions, our skilled in striking entered into the contest with various weapons, and there my mind became afflicted, and a witness said the marvelous prowess of Matali, that he guided those fair steeds with ease. Then in the conflict with the vast fleet weapons, affixed by hundreds and by thousands, bearing arms, and seeing me thus range the field, putting forth every exertion, the heroic chariot of Sakra was well pleased. And oppressed by those steeds in that car, some met with annihilation, and others desisted from fight, while Nivata Kavakas, challenged by us in battle, and being harassed with shafts, offered opposition unto me by mighty showers of arrows. Thereupon, with hundreds and thousands of sundry fleet weapons, inspired with the mantras relating to Brahma weapons, I swiftly began to burn them, and being sore pressed by me, those mighty Asuras, waxing wrath, afflicted me together by pouring torrents of clubs and darts and swords. Then I took up that favorite weapon of the Lord of the Celestials, Magihavan by name, prime and of fiery energy, and by the energy of that weapon I cut into 1,000 pieces the Tomaras, together with the swords and the tridents, hurled by them, and having cut off their arms, I in ear fixed them each with 10 shafts, and in the field arrows were shot from the Gandiva like unto rows of black bees, and this mortally admitted, and their shafts showered upon me, those powerful are cut off with my shafts. Then on being struck, the Nivata Kavachas again covered me on all sides with a mighty shower of arrows. And having neutralized the force of the arrows by excellent swift and flaming weapons, capable of baffling arms, appeased them by thousands, and blood began to flow from their torn frames, even as in the rain season waters run down from the summits of mountains. And on being wounded by my fleet and strength coursing shafts of the torch of Indra thunderbolt, they became greatly agitated, and their bodies were pierced at hundreds of places, and the force of their arms diminished. Then the Nivata Kavachas fogged me by illusion. Then with hawks of the proportions of trees, there commenced a mighty shower of cracks, and this exercised me exceedingly. And in that high encounter I crushed by swift speeding showers of arrows, ensuing from my hand a weapon, like unto the thunderbolt itself. And when the hawks had been reduced to powder, there was generated fire, and the hawk thus fell like unto masses of flames. And when the showers of cracks had been repelled, there happened near me a mightier shower of water, and having currents of the proportion of an axle. And falling from the welkin, those thousands of powerful torrents covered the entire firmament in the directions and the cardinal points, and on account of the pouring of the shower, and of the blowing of the wind, and of roaring of the deities, nothing could be perceived, and touching heaven and the entire earth, and incessantly failing on the ground, the showers bewildered me. Thereupon I discharged that celestial weapon which I had learned from Indra, even the dreadful and flaming Vana, and by that the water was dried up. And when the hawk shower had been destroyed, and the watery shower had been dried up, the Danavas began to spread illusions of fire and wind. Then by aqueous appliances I extinguished the flames, and by a mighty hawk ensuing arm resisted the fury of the wind. And when this had been repelled, the Danavas irrepressibly and bately simultaneously created various illusions. And there happened a tremendous horrifying shower of hawks and dreadful weapons of fire and wind, and that illusory downpour afflicted me in fact. And then on all sides there appeared a dense and thick darkness. And when the world had been enveloped in deep and dense darkness, the steeds turned away. Matali fell off, and from his hand the golden lash fell to the earth. And being frightened, he again and again cried, "Where art thou?" And when he had been stupefied, a terrible fear possessed me. And then in a hurry he spake unto me, saying, "For the sake of nectar, there had taken place a mighty conflict between the gods and the demons. I had seen that, and on the occasion of the destruction of Samvara, there had occurred a dreadful and mighty contest. Nevertheless, I had acted as charioteer to the Lord of the Celestials. In the same way, on the occasion of the slaying of Vritra, the steeds had been conducted by me, and I had beheld the high and terrific encounter with Virokhana's son, and with Vala, and with Prahada, and with others. In these exceedingly dreadful battles I was present. Never had I lost my senses. Surely the great Father hath ordained the destruction of all creatures, for this battle cannot be for any other purpose than the destruction of the universe." Having heard these words of his, pacifying my perturbation by my own effort, I will destroy the mighty energy of the illusion spread by the Danavas, quoth unto the terrified Matali, behold the might of my arms, and the power of my weapons, and of the bow Gandiva. Today, even by illusion creating arms, will dispel this deep gloom and this horrible illusion of theirs. Do not fear, pacify thyself. Having said this, I created for the good of the celestials an illusion of arms capable of bewildering our beings. And when illusion had been dispelled, some of the foremost amongst the Asuras of unrivaled prowess again spread diverse kinds of illusion, thereupon now displayed itself, and now it was devoured by darkness, and now the world disappeared from view, and now it was submerged under water, and when it had brightened up, Matali, sitting in front of the car with the well-conducted steeds, began to range that hair-erecting field. Then the fierce Nivata Kavachas assailed me, and finding my opportunity, I began to send them to the mansion of Yama. Thereupon, in that conflict, then Hengxing calculated to annihilate the Nivata Kavachas on a sudden. Could not see the Danavas concealed by illusion. Remaining invisibly, the deities began to fight with the help of illusion, and too fogged with them, resorting to the energy of visible weapons. And the shafts, duly discharged from the Gandiva, began to sever their heads at those different places where they were respectively stationed, and thus assailed by me in the conflict, the Nivata Kavachas are on a sudden, withdrawing the illusion, entered into their own city. And when the deities had fled, and when I had become visibly there discovered hundreds and thousands of the slain, and there I saw by hundreds their shivered weapons, ornaments, limbs, and mail. And the horses could not find home for moving from one place to another, and on a sudden with a bound they fell to coursing in the sky. Then remaining invisibly, the Nivata Kavachas covered the entire King with masses of crags, and other dreadful Danavas, entering into the entrails of the earth, took up horses, legs, and chariot wheels. And as I was fighting, they, hard besetting my horses with hawks, attacked me together with car, and with the crags that had fallen, and with others that were failing. The place where I was seemed to be a mountain cavern, and on myself being covered with crags, and on the horses being hard pressed, I became sore distressed, and this was marked by Matali. And on seeing me afraid, he said unto me, Be thou not afraid, send that weapon, the thunderbolt. Hearing those words of his, I then discharged the favorite weapon of the King of the Celestials, the dreadful thunderbolt. And inspiring the Gandiva with mantras, aiming at the location of the crags, shot sharpened iron shafts of the torch of the thunderbolt, and sent by the thunder, those adamantine arrows entered into all those illusions, and into the midst of those Nivata Kavachas, and slaughtered by the vehemence of the thunder, those Danavas resembling cliffs fell to the earth together in masses. And entering amongst those Danavas that had carried away the steeds of the car into the interior of the earth, the shafts sent them into the mansion of Yama, and that quarter was completely covered with the Nivata Kavachas that had been killed or baffled comparably unto cliffs, and lying scattered like crags. And then no injury appeared to have been sustained either by the horses, or by the car, or by Matali, or by me, and this seemed strange. Then Matali addressed me smiling, not in the celestials themselves. Ye sing the prowess that ye sing in thee. And when the Danava host had been destroyed, all their females began to bewail in that city, like unto cranes in autumn. Then with Matali I entered that city, terrifying with the hurtling of Makar, the wives of the Nivata Kavachas. Thereupon, seeing those 10,000 horses like unto peacocks, and that chariot resembling the sun, the woman fled in swarms. And like unto hawks failing on a mountain, sounds arose of the ornaments of the terrified dames. The panic-stricken wives of the deities entered into their respective golden palaces variegated with innumerable jewels. Beholding that excellent city, superior to the seat of the celestials themselves, I asked Matali, saying, why do not the celestials reside in such? Surely this appeareth superior to the seat of Purandara. There Matali said, in days of yore, even this was the seat of our Lord of the celestials. Afterwards the celestials were driven from hence by the Nivata Kavachas. Having performed the most rigid austerities, they had gratified the grandfather and had asked the boons, namely, that they might reside here, and that they might be free from danger in wars with the gods. Then Sakra addressed the self-created Lord, saying, do thou, desirous of our own welfare, do what is proper. Thereupon, in this matter, the Lord commanded, saying, in another body, even thou shalt be. Then, in order to slaughter them, Sakra handed unto these those weapons. The gods had been unable to slay these, who have been slain by thee. In the fullness of time hast thou come hither, in order to destroy them, and thou hast done, with the object that the demons might be killed. Mahendra had conferred on thee the excellent prime energy of these weapons. After having destroyed the Danavas and subdued that city, with Matali I again went to that abode of the celestials. Then while returning, I happened to descry a mighty unearthly seat, moving at will, and having the effulgence of fire or the sun. And that city contained various trees composed of gems and sweet-voiced theatre-red awns, and furnished with 4 gates and gateways and towers, that impregnably was inhabited by the Paulamas and the Kalakanjas, and it was made of all sorts of jewels, and was unearthly, and of wonderful appearance, and it was covered with trees of all kinds of gems, bearing fruits and flowers, and it contained exceedingly beautiful and unearthly birds. And it always swarmed throughout with cheerful azures, wearing garlands, and bearing in their hands darts, 2-edged swords, maces, bows, and clubs. And on seeing this wonderful seat of the deities, I asked Matali, saying, what is this that looketh wonderful? There Matali replied, once on a time a deity doctor named Pulama, and a mighty female of the Azura order, Kalaka by name, practiced severe austerities for 1,000 celestial years. And at the end of their austerities, the self-create conferred on them boons. They received these boons, that their offspring might never suffer misfortune, that they might be capable of being destroyed, even by the gods, the Hakishasas and Panagas, and that they might obtain a highly efficient and surpassingly fair aerial seat, furnished with all manners of gems, and invincible even by the celestials, the Maharshis, the Yakishas, the Gandharvas, the Panagas, the Asuras, and the Hakishasas. This is that unearthly aerial seat, devoid of the celestials, which is moving about, having been created for the Kalakeyas by Brahma himself, and this seat is furnished with all desirable objects, and is unknown of grief or disease, and celebrated under the name of Hiranyapura. This mighty seat is inhabited by the Paulamas and the Kalakanjas, and it is guarded by those mighty Asuras, enslaved by any of the gods. There they dwell cheerful, free from angst, and having all their desires gratified. Formerly, Brahma had destined destruction at the hands of mortals, though thou, in fact, compass with that weapon, the thunderbolt, the destruction of the might and irrepressibly Kalakanjas. Learning that they were incapable of being destroyed by the Celestials and the Asuras, a cheerful said unto Matali, do thou speedily repair into yonder seat, with weapons will encompass the annihilation of the haters of the Lord of the Celestials. Surely there exist no wicked haters of the gods who ought not to be slain by me. Thereupon Matali took me to vicinity of Hiranyapura on the celestial chariot yoked with steeds, and seeing me those sons of deity wearing various kinds of attire and ornament and a coat thread in mail, flew at me with a mighty whoosh, and those foremost of the Danavas of exceeding prowess in wrath attacked me with arrows and vihalas and clubs and two-edged swords and tomaras. There, resorting to my strength of lore, I resisted that great volley of weapons by a mighty shower of shafts, and confounded them in conflict by hanging around in my car, and being bewildered, the Danavas began to push each other down, and having been confounded, they rushed at one another, and with flaming arrows severed their heads by hundreds, and hard pressed by me, the offspring of deity, taking shelter within seat, soared with it to the firmament, resorting to the illusion proper to the Danavas. Thereupon, covering the way of the deities with a mighty discharge of shafts, I obstructed their course. Then, by virtue of the bestowal of the Buon, the deities supported themselves easily on that sky-hanging and earthly aerial seat, going anywhere at will, and like unto the sun, and now entered unto the earth, and now it rose upwards, and at one time it went in a crooked way, and at another time it submerged into water. At this I assailed that mighty seat, going anywhere at will, and resembling a Maravati, and I attacked the seat containing those sons of deity, with multitudes of shafts, displaying celestial weapons, and battered and broken by the strength coursing iron shafts shot by me, the seat of the Asuras fell to the earth, and they, wounded by my iron arrows, having the speed of the thunder, began to go about, being urged by destiny. Then, ascending to the sky, Matali, as if failing in front, swiftly descended to the earth on that chariot of solar resplendence. Then environed me 6,000 cars belonging to those wrathful ones, eager to battle with me, and with sharpened shafts graced with feathers of the vulture, I destroyed those. At these, thinking, these our hosts are incapable of being vanquished by mortals, they became engaged in the conflict, like unto the source of the seer. Thereupon, a gradual began to fix unearthly weapons. At these thousands of weapons, by those wonderful war-ring chariots, by degrees opposed my unearthly arms, and in the field I saw hundreds and thousands of might hanging on their cars in various manoeuvres, and being furnished with variegated mail and standards and diverse ornaments, they delighted my mind, and in conflict I could not afflict them by showers of shafts. They did not afflict me, in being afflicted by those innumerable ones equipped in weapons and skilled in fight. I was pained in that might encounter, and a terrible fear seized me. Thereupon, collecting in fight, unto that God of gods, Hudra, and saying, May welfare attend on our beings, I fixed that might weapon, which celebrated under the name of Haudra, is the destroyer of our foes. Then I beheld a male person, having 3 heads, 9 eyes, 3 faces, and 6 arms, and his hair was flaming like fire or the sun. And for his dress he had mighty serpents, putting out their tongues, and saying, The dreadful and eternal Haudra, being free from fear, set it on the Gandiva, and bowing unto the 3-eyed Parva of immeasurable energy, let go, with the object of vanquishing those foremost of the Danavas. And as soon as it had been hurled, there appeared on the scene by thousands forms of deer, and of lions, and of tigers, and of bears, and of buffaloes, and of serpents, and of kine, and of sarabihas, and of elephants, and of apes in multitudes, and of bulls, and of boars, and of cats, and of dogs, and of spectres, and of all the behundas, and of vultures, and of garudas, of chamaras, and of all the leopards, and of mountains, and of seers, and of celestials, and of says, and of all the Gandharvas, and of ghosts which the Yakis has, and of the haters of the gods, and of the Guhyakas in the field, and of the Naihitas, and of elephant-mounted sharks, and of owls, and of beings having the forms of fishes and horses, and of beings bearing swords and various other weapons, and of hakisasas, yielding maces and clubs. And on that weapon being hurled, all the universe became filled with these, as well as many others wearing various shapes. And again, wounded by beings of various sides, with flesh, fat, bones, and marrow on their persons, some having 3 heads, and some 4 tusks, and some 4 mouths, and some 4 arms. The Danavas meet with destruction, and then in a moment I slew out those Danavas with other swarms of arrows composed of the quintessence of stone, flaming like fire or the sun, and possessed of the force of the thunderbolt. And seeing them hewn by the Gandiva, and deprived of life, and thrown from the sky, I again bowed unto that god, the destroyer of Tripura, and seeing those adorned with unearthly ornaments, crushed by the weapon, the Haudra, the Shariata of the Celestials, experienced the greatest delight, and having witnessed the accomplishment of that unbearable feat, incapable of being achieved even by the Celestials themselves, Matali, the Shariata of Sakra, paid homage unto me, and well pleased, with joined hands, said these words: The feat that hath been achieved by thee is incapable of being borne even by the gods. Nay, in Bethlehem, the Lord of the Celestials himself cannot perform this deed. The sky-coursing mighty city, incapable of being destroyed by the gods and the Asuras, hast thou crushed by thy own prowess and by the energy of asceticism. And when that aerial seat had been destroyed, and when the Danavas had been slain, their wives, uttering cries of distress like unto curare birds, with hair dishevelled, came out of the city, and bewailing for their sons and brothers and fathers, they fell on the ground and cried with distressful accents, and on being deprived of their lords, they beat their breasts, their garlands and ornaments fallen off, and that seat of the Navas, in appearance like unto the seat of the Gandhiharvas, filled with lamentations, and stricken with dole and distress, in benefit of grace, even like unto a lake deprived of elephants, or like unto a forest deprived of trees, and masters looked no longer beautiful, it vanished like a cloud constructed city. And when I had accomplished the task, I fed sons from the field, Matali, took me of delighted spirits unto the abode of the Lord of the Celestials, and having slain those mighty Asuras, and destroyed Hiranyapura, and having killed the Nivata Kavachas, I came unto Indra, and exceedingly resplendent on, as it had fallen out, Matali related in detail unto Devendra that entire achievement of mine, and with the Marutas, hearing of the destruction of Hiranyapura, of the neutralization of the illusion, and of the slaughter of the highly powerful Nivata Kavakas, in fact, the prosperous thousand-eyed divine Purandara was well pleased, and exclaimed, "Well done!" And the King of the Celestials, together with the Celestials, cheering me again and again, said these sweet words: "But thee hath been achieved a feat incapable of being achieved by the gods and the Asuras, and by slaying my mighty enemies thou hast paid the preceptor fee, and thus in battle shalt thou always remain calm, and discharge the weapons unerringly, and there shall not stand thee in fight celestials, and the Navas, and Hakishasas, and Yakishas, and Nasuras, and Gandhiharvas, and birds, and serpents, and by conquering it, even by the might of thy arms, Kunti's son, Yudhishthira, will rule the earth." Then firmly confident, the sovereignty of the Celestials, considering as his own, pertinently said these words unto me, wounded by cleaving shafts: "All the celestial weapons are with thee. No man on earth will by any means be able to overpower thee. And when thou art in the field, Bhisma and Drona and Kripa and Karna and Sakuni, together with other Kshatriyas, shall not amount unto 1/16th part of thee. And the Lord Maghavan granted me this golden garland and this shell, the Vadata of might horse, and his celestial mail, impenetrably and capable of protecting the body. And Indra himself sat on my diadem, and Sakra presented me with these unearthly apparels and unearthly ornaments, elegant and hard. In this manner, honored, a delightful dwelt in Indra's sacred abode with the children of the Gandhiharvas. Then well pleased, Sakra, together with the Celestials, addressed me, saying: "The time hath come for thy departure, thy brothers have talked of thee." Thus, remembering the dissensions arising from that gambling, did I pass those 5 years in the abode of Indra. Then have I come and see thee surrounded by all brothers on the summit of this lower range of the Gandhihamadana. Yudhishthira said: "But fortunately it is that the weapons have been obtained by thee. But fortunately it is that the master of the mortals hath been adored by thee. But fortunately it is that the divine Sitihanu, together with the goddess, had become manifest unto thee and been gratified by thee in battle. But fortunately it is that thou hast met with the Lokapalas. But fortunately it is that we have prospered, and by fortune it is that thou hast come back. Today I consider as if the entire earth, engarlanded with cities, have already been conquered, and as if the sons of Dhritarashtra have already been subdued. Now I am curious to behold those celestial weapons wherewith thou hast slain the powerful Nivata Kavachas. There Arjuna said, tomorrow in the morning thou wilt see all the celestial weapons with which I slew the fierce Nivata Kavachas. Thus having related the arrival, the Dhananjaya passed that night there together with all his brothers. And when the night had passed, Yudhishthira the just arose and together with his brothers performed the necessary duties. He then spake unto Arjuna, that the light of his mother, saying, do thou show those weapons with which thou vanquished the Danavas. There the exceedingly powerful Dhananjaya, the son of Pandu, dual practicing extreme purity, showed those weapons, which had been given unto him by the celestials. Dhananjaya seated on the earth as his chariot, which had the mountain for its pole, the base of the axle and the cluster of beautiful looking bamboo trees for its socket pole, looked resplendent with that celestial armor of great lustre, took his bow Gandiva and the conch shell given to him by the gods, commenced to exhibit those celestial weapons in order. And as those celestial weapons had been set, the earth, being oppressed with defeat, began to tremble with trees, and the rivers and the mighty men became vexed, and the hawks were heaving, and the air was hushed, and the sun did not shine, and fire did not flame, and by no means did the Vedas of the twice-born Ons shine, and the creatures peopling the interior of the earth, on being afflicted, rose and surrounded the Pandava, trembling with joined hands and contorted countenances, and being burnt by those weapons, they besought the Dhananjaya. Then the Brahmas hissed, and the Siddhas, and the Mahars hissed, and the mobile beings, all these appeared, and the foremost Devas hissed, and the celestials, and the Yakishas, and the Hakishasas, and the Gandharvas, and the feathered tribes, and the sky-hanging beings, all these appeared, and the great sire, and all the Lokapalas, and the divine Mahadeva came thither, together with their followers. Then, bearing unearthly variegated blossoms, Vayu fell to strewing them around the Pandava. And sent by the celestials, the Gandharvas chanted various ballads, and hosts of the Apsaras danced. At such a moment, sent by the celestials, Narada arrived and addressed Partha in these sweet words: do thou not discharge the celestial weapons, these should never be discharged when there is no object, and when there is an object, they should by no means be hurled, unless on is sore pressed. For to discharge the weapons is fraught with great evil, and being duly kept as thou hast been instructed to these powerful weapons will doubtless conduce to thy strength and happiness. If they are not properly kept, they will become the instrument for the destruction of the three worlds. Thou shalt not act in this way again. Thou too wilt behold even these weapons, when Partha will use them for grinding enemies in battle. Having prevented Partha, the immortals with others that had come there went to each his place, and after they had all gone, the Pandavas began to dwell pleasantly in the same forest, together with Krishna. Jana Medjaya said, when that prime among heroes, having been accomplished in arms, had returned from the abode of the slayer of Vritra, what did Pritha, sons, do in company with the warlike Dhananjaya? In company with that hero, equal unto Indra, Arjuna, that foremost of men, is spotted in the pleasure gardens of the Lord of Treasuries, in those woods on that romantic and excellent mountain, and surveying those peerless and various pleasure grounds, filled with the vast trees, that chief of men, Kiriti, ever intent upon arms, hanged at large, bow in hand, and having through the grace of King Vana obtained a residence, those sons of a sovereignty cared not for the prosperity of men, and that period of their passed peaceful, and having Partha in their company, they spent 4 years there even like a single night, and as the Pandavas lived in the wood, and the former 6, numbering 10, passed smoothly with them. Then having seated themselves before the king, the vehement son of the wind god, with Jisnu and the heroic twins, like unto the lord of the celestials, earnestly addressed the king in these beneficial and pleasant words. It is only to handle thy promise effectual and to advance thy interest, that, forsaking the forest, we do not go to slay Suryodhana together with all his followers. Our talk, deserving of happiness, yet have we been deprived of happiness. And this is the 11th year that we have been living, and hereafter, deluding that one of evil mind and character, shall we easily leave out the period of non-discovery, and at thy mandate, free from apprehension, we have been hanging the woods, having relinquished our honor, having been tempted by our residence in the vicinity. They will not believe that we have removed to a distant realm, and after having lived there undiscovered for a year, and having wreaked our revenge on that wicked Suryodhana with his followers, we shall easily root out the meanness of men, slaying him and regaining our kingdom. Therefore, do thou descend unto the earth, for if we dwell in this region, like unto heaven itself, we shall forget our sorrows. In that case, thy fame like unto a fragrant flower shall vanish from the mobile and the immobile worlds. By gaining that kingdom of the Kuru chiefs, thou wilt be able to attain and to perform various sacrifices. These that thou art receiving from Kuvera, thou wilt be able to attain any time. Now turn thy mind towards the punishment and destruction of foes that committed wrongs. The elder of the thunderbolt himself is incapable of withstanding thy prowess, and intent upon thy welfare, he, having Suparna for his mark, and the grandson of Sini, never experienced pain, even when engaged in encounter with the gods. And Arjuna is peerless in strength, and are too. And as Krishna together with the Yadavas is intent upon thy welfare, so are also. And the heroic twins accomplished in war, and encountering the enemy, we having for our main object the attainment by thee of wealth and prosperity, will destroy them. Then, having learned that intention of theirs, the magnanimous and excellent son of the Dharma, versed in religion and profit and of immeasurably prowess, went round by his Ravana abode, and Yudhishthira, the just, after bidding adieu unto the palaces, the rivers, the lakes, and all the Rakshasas, looked towards the way by which had come, and then looking at the mountain, the high-souled and poor-minded on besought that best of mountains, saying, May I, together with my friends, after having finished my task and slaying my foes, and regained my kingdom, see thee again, carrying on austerities with subdued soul. And this he determined on, and in company with his younger brothers and the Brahmanas, the lord of the Kurus, proceeded even along that very road. And Gihatotikakha, with his followers, began to carry them over the mountain cascades, and as they started, the great sage Lomasa, advising them even as a father doth his son, with a cheerful heart, went unto the sacred abode of the dwellers of heaven. Then, advised by Arstishenna, those first of men, the Parthihas, went alone, beholding romantic tirthihas and hermitages and other marked lakes,